Hi, and welcome to kwickieTV NBA Today Quick Shots. I'm your host, Ken Thompson, on this Thursday, December the 15th. If you've joined us before, you know exactly how it works. 30 minutes nonstop NBA action, wall to wall. We've got a great cast of characters, pros that are going to get you caught up, not only on the world of fantasy basketball, also our resident pro, Johnny Robb. He's going to give you some tips from the betting angles of things. We'll get some review from last night. We'll preview tonight's games. We'll also look at our hot topics as well. If you missed it last night, lots of great action. Cleveland Cavaliers resting the big three. They got crushed down in Memphis. Meanwhile, the Houston Rockets, very unselfish night for James Harden, only 15 points, but he had a triple-double, got a lot of help from the bench, including 19 from Sam Decker, and the Rockets rolled over Sacramento. So sit back, we go live in 157 countries. Again, welcome to kwickieTV NBA Today Quick Shots. All right, let's take a look at last night's action. Lots of solid stuff on the hardwood. What about up there in the altitude? Remember, I told you Utah would take care of business in a big way against Oklahoma City. They laid 7. They won it by 20. No problem there. Meanwhile, those Houston Rockets, talked about them. Very unselfish James Harden night and lots of people in double digits, including Sam Decker off the bench with 19. Rockets roll big time over Sacramento. Meanwhile, Cleveland resting the big three, so Memphis got a chance to crush them, even that home-and-home series. Lots going on the hardwood last night, lots going on tonight, but let's review what happened last night with our panel. Here's what they have to say. All right, Coach Dave Miller, start me off, man, because I'm wondering, is this Houston Rockets team as good as I think they could be? Not just James Harden now. Ryan Anderson looks solid. You have Ariza. You've got Gordon off the bench. I mean, this team is solid. Sam Decker with 19. They demolished the Kings. Is this team good enough to challenge Golden State and San Antonio?
Well, on one end of the floor they can, because remember, Mike D'Antoni's teams are typically fast-paced and fun and entertaining offensively, but they're very mediocre defensively. But I love how the ingredients fit. You've got James Harden orchestrating, directing traffic. Then you've got shooters all around the perimeter and bigs that have accepted their role and will set screens and know when to roll and know when to pop. A great stat versus the Kings, 22 made threes. An even better stat, 40 assists on 50 makes. Remember, offense sells tickets, but defense wins championships. That's what they need to work on.
Tracy, this is one that we thought the Lakers would win against the struggling Nets, but the Nets sent the Lakers packing with their 8th straight loss, getting the points at home to the Lakers.
Well, it looks like the Lakers are not mentally strong enough to win on the road, and that's what happens with young teams. You know, I don't know what they were doing the night before, if they were disciplined enough to stay in their rooms. They are in the New York area. Brooklyn came to play last night. I mean, outside of Larry Nance's dunk, the Lakers didn't show up. So hats off to Brooklyn for getting that win and defending their home court. And I think this was the best chance for the Lakers to get a win. So who knows when they're going to win next. Maybe there's a little bit of team chemistry off with the guys that were hurt coming back, but they have to find a way to get it done.
Well, we tipped it yesterday, Memphis over Cleveland, 93-85. Probably no big surprise with the big three resting. But Tracy, was this a disappointment for the fans who purchased a ticket to see these guys play?
Jay, if I purchased a ticket, I would be pissed off because I came to see those guys play. And there was no rest back in the day with us. There was no missing the game because of rest. There was maybe missing the game because of injury. And then you had a lot of guys out there playing with broken fingers and playing through injuries. Not just hurt, injured. So this rest thing, I'm not a fan of. And then when it comes to the fans not being able to see their favorite players play because of rest, yeah, it's a problem. I don't like it, and I'm not in favor of it.
The San Antonio Spurs were just too much at home for the Boston Celtics. Where was this game won and lost? Coach, your thoughts?
Well, Chuck, is always the case with the Spurs. It's always about we and never about me. And that's what we saw in this game. At the start of the game, they needed some good floor spacing, and Pau Gasol provided that. He ended up with 17 points and 13 rebounds. Then in the fourth quarter, Tony Parker had his magic going. But Kawhi Leonard, he was dominant throughout the whole game, especially at the end. He finished with 26 points. I thought this game was San Antonio's best defensively. We always talk about them being smart and on the same page, but there was a different level of communication. And that's what I thought was the turning point, because Boston really executed extremely well. But every time they made a run, San Antonio was able to punch back and hit. That's a key with the San Antonio Spurs.
The Utah Jazz took the victory over Oklahoma City Thunder last night, 109-89. Chuck, where was this game won and lost?
Well, let's talk about Rodney Hood. He returned from a hamstring injury after missing 3 games to drop in 25 points. He was special. The entire Jazz team was special in the offensive end. They shot 58% from the field. But let's talk about the Utah Jazz defensively. This is where the game was won. When you play a team like OKC, you have to shut down their offense. They're going to attack. Russell is always in attack mode. They held OKC to 36.6% from the field. That is unbelievable. This Jazz team is special defensively, Shayna. And if they can start to really put things together on the offensive end and keep players like Rodney Hood healthy, Quinn Snyder and his ball club can really shake some things up in the West.
Lots of solid headlines in the world of NBA basketball, so let's get to our Hot Topics segment. We'll start it off with point guards. Who are the best in the game? Nobody elevates higher than the LA Clippers point guard, Chris Paul. We'll also take a look at some of the other key names in the NBA news, talk about Wesley Matthews, King LeBron James. We also got Luke Walton, head coach of the LA Lakers, in the news. Then there's Marc Gasol, who is back in the lineup for those boys from Nashville as the Grizzlies rolled over the Cavs, who rested their top 3 starters. Meanwhile, Jay-Z takes a swipe at Phil Jackson while presenting King LeBron with his Sports Illustrated Sports Person of the Year. Those things and more with our Quick Shots team. It's time for Hot Topics. Stick around.
Okay, Tracy. Steph Curry. How about him getting a high five from the opposing team's coach after he nailed a triple? Is that something you would do? Do you condone that kind of behavior? Let me know.
Chuck, hell no. If anything, I might have tripped him going down the court if I was the opposing coach. Steph is my man. He does a lot of amazing things out there. But there's no way my competitive juices would have given him a high five after dropping a tray ball on our team. No way. That's just my old school mentality. It was not happening.
Coach, you can see sometimes why people like to boo Russell Westbrook with his kicking of the ball incident with Damian Lillard. He was frustrated and then sat out the rest of the game. Do you think he needs to be like that?
What you see is what you get with Russ. Wasn't really recruited heavily out of high school to go to college. He plays with a chip on his shoulder. There's a certain arrogance. I thought last April Kobe Bryant passed him the torch. You know, the one of being the most competitive player on the floor, but also being one of the most hated. He doesn't like the media. He thinks our questions are stupid. He despises anybody that thinks he should pass more than he should shoot. He loves to dress outrageous just to make a statement. You see, he's got the DNA of a Kobe, of a Kevin Garnett. They don't love to win. They hate to lose. You know what? I don't like this segment. I'm out of here. I'm going to see Russell. Peace out.
Well, let's go ahead and discuss the competition facing LeBron James to win his 5th league MVP, tying the great Michael Jordan. This year, LeBron is averaging 25 points per game, 7.5 rebounds, and 9 assists. What do you think, panel? Who is the best bet to take the MVP away from LeBron this year?
Well, I think there's 2 legitimate players early on that you could talk about. James Harden of the Houston Rockets, 4th in scoring in the NBA, but number 1 in assists. And the Los Angeles native has the Houston Rockets playing hotter than a South Central summer. They're on an 8-game win streak. But the best bet to me is Russell Westbrook. He's averaging a triple-double. We know that Russ can get his points. We know that because he's a blur in transition and attacks the glass so ferociously that he can drop dimes. But it's the rebounds that's most impressive. Remember Oscar Robertson? He's at those historic numbers. Russell Westbrook might get it done.
Well, let's go ahead and discuss the competition facing LeBron James to win his 5th league MVP, tying the great Michael Jordan. This year, LeBron is averaging 25 points per game, 7.5 rebounds, and 9 assists. What do you think, panel? Who is the best bet to take the MVP away from LeBron this year?
Hands down, it's going to be Russell Westbrook. It will be Russell Westbrook. It should have been him last year, but Steph Curry was having an amazing season, an amazing record, an amazing performance of threes. This year, it's all Russell. He's going to continue to put up the points that he's put up. His team may not do as well as they did last year, but without Kevin Durant overshadowing him, his stats will show he's going to get the MVP.
Well, let's go ahead and discuss the competition facing LeBron James to win his 5th league MVP, tying the great Michael Jordan. This year, LeBron is averaging 25 points per game, 7.5 rebounds, and 9 assists. What do you think, panel? Who is the best bet to take the MVP away from LeBron this year?
I think the only one that has a shot is probably Russell Westbrook with the numbers that he's putting up and as many triple-doubles as he's putting up. But otherwise, just hand it to the king because he's going to have a chance to win another championship. And that's something that Russell's not going to be able to do. So they have similar numbers. The Cavs are winning more games. They will be in the finals. So hand it to the king. But in my opinion, it would be Russell Westbrook who has the closest chance of giving the king a run.
December 15th marks the unofficial opening of trade season. Names like Nerlens Noel, Andrew Bogut, Marcus Smart, Ricky Rubio, and DeMarcus Cousins are all up for discussion. What do you think, panel?
Well, King Thurs, here I am, Phoenix Airport, man. I've just been traded back to kwickieTV, so that's a good move for me. I'm hoping Serge Ibaka reunites with James Harden. We'll wait and see. There's a lot of rumors. Got to wait and play him out and see how things pan out. But, hey, I got to catch my flight, man, because we got a big show tonight. So I'm glad I got traded back to the best team. All right, we'll talk to you later. Right on, King Thurs. Rock on, brother.
December 15th marks the unofficial opening of trade season. Names like Nerlens Noel, Andrew Bogut, Marcus Smart, Ricky Rubio, and DeMarcus Cousins are all up for discussion. What do you think, panel?
Well, DeMarcus Cousins is always a hot name on the trade block. He has been for the last few years. And as the Kings are struggling at just 9-16 for the season, they look to be headed for another sub-40 win season. So those rumors are sure to heat up. But Kings ownership has shown that they are not going to trade this guy for just a handful of prospects or maybe potential draft picks. So I look for guys like Andrew Bogut to be more of a reasonable expectation to acquire to bulk up your big man in this trade season. Teams like the Boston Celtics are going to look to be very active in acquiring some front court depth to shore up that defense. So look for Bogut to the Celtics.
December 15th marks the unofficial opening of trade season. Names like Nerlens Noel, Andrew Bogut, Marcus Smart, Ricky Rubio, and DeMarcus Cousins are all up for discussion. What do you think, panel?
Well, I agree with Jay on this one. I think that DeMarcus Cousins, he's been on the trade block, it seems, since he almost came to the Sacramento Kings. He's not going anywhere unless you're going to virtually give up the team that you have to get one player in return. I like what Jay said here. Look for Bogut to go to Boston. Marcus Smart has given them absolutely nothing. He's been a perennial bust as far as I'm concerned in terms of the NBA game is concerned. But I look for the Celtics to try and get a big man in Bogut. I think Bogut's slowing down as well. I don't think he's got much left in the tank, but it can't hurt to add a 7-footer in an Eastern Conference where you can contend with the big guy. Okay, Shayna. It's been 175 days since the 76ers took Ben Simmons #1 overall in the NBA draft. When can we expect to see him out there with the 76ers, and what type of impact can we expect once he does take the court?
Well, Coach Brett Brown has said they're taking it extremely careful with his injury recovery, but he no longer has the boot on his foot. He's not using the manual scooter anymore. So both really great signs for Sixers fans. And this week he actually has gone on the court and taken some free throws, so another good sign. But Originally, they said he might be back in January and retracted the statement. I definitely don't think he'll be back by January, probably not until after the All-Star break. But once he does come back, he's going to have a tremendous impact on the Sixers, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what him and Joel Embiid can produce together. In the news this week, we've seen that the Celtics changed their mind in the 2001 NBA draft and chose Joseph Forte over Tony Parker at pick 21. Chuck, was this a good decision for the Celtics?
Well, Shayna, 2001, that's a long time ago now. It's hard to believe. Actually, for those that remember and used to follow college basketball closely, at the time, I did not think that that was the wrong pick. You have to remember, Tony Parker, coming from overseas, we only knew so much about him. And at that time, players from North Carolina, Duke, the Blue Blood programs are more likely to get selected higher in the draft. And Joe Forte, at that time coming out of Carolina, was a special player. Had the mini fro. I thought he was the next Kobe at the time. So as a young guy, he was a player that I used to look up to in college. I wasn't surprised they made the pick. Hindsight is always 20/20 when we're talking sports as well as in life. So at the time, they thought they made the right decision. A couple rings later, they didn't.
Well, looking at the Porzingis-Chris scuffle and a few other altercations around the association this week, Tracy, as an ex-player and coach, how do you feel about it? Do you think this is good for the game?
I think it's good for the game because there's an intensity during the season that's not normal, because you usually try to coast through the season and get to the playoffs. But you got guys that are out there fighting and trying to win a basketball game and out there playing hard. I don't think it's bad for the game. I think it's good. And I think they're showing their fans that they want to win. So as long as the scuffle don't get out of hand, then I think it's good for the game.
All right, let's get to it. Lots of good action on the hardwood tonight. Only 5 games, but there's some good ones, including my New York Knicks at Golden State at the Oracle. Want to see how the Knickerbockers match up against the best in the business? That's amongst the 5 games. Also have New Orleans at home against Indiana, Milwaukee at home against Chicago, San Antonio on the road against Phoenix, and Denver and Portland tangle as well. Those 5 games, our Quick Shots team's going to examine them. Let's go to them now and check out what's going to happen tonight in the NBA.
The Chicago Bulls head to Milwaukee to take on the Bucks. It looks to be a pretty even game on paper. Chuck, who will win and why?
Well, Thurs, it's no secret that I'm a huge Chicago Bulls fan. That is my hometown. Before the season started, I was very high on this Milwaukee Bucks basketball team. This game tonight appears to be even on paper, but I'm going to go with the Chicago Bulls for one reason. I believe that loss on national television the other night to the Minnesota Timberwolves when they blew a 21-point lead, which is the largest blown lead in basketball this season, they're going to be a little bit teed off. They're going to come out. I feel like they're going to execute on the road and get a big victory. But I'm loving what I'm seeing from Milwaukee with Jabari Parker. I'm really thinking he's making progress coming back from that terrible ACL injury that he had. And Jason Kidd has those guys playing. So I would not be surprised to see them win it all. I do think the Bulls win a close game, however. It'll be very tight until the end.
Well, the Golden State Warriors head back to Oracle Arena where they have a 9-2 home mark on the year. They welcome the New York Knicks. What do you think, Coach? Did the Knicks have enough defense to shut down the Warriors' offense in this one?
Absolutely not. This New York team does not have a defensive state of mind. They could use Alicia Keys maybe as a defensive assistant. But on a serious note, when you look at the roster, there's only one player that's defensive minded, and that's Joakim Noah. The defense starts and stops with him. There's no lockdown perimeter defenders, and there's really not an assistant on the bench that you would deem a defensive guru like a Ron Adams at Golden State. Let's break it down analytically. This New York Knicks team struggles to defend the 3-ball. That's what Golden State does best. They also foul too much. They put opponents on the free throw line about 27 times a game. Defense is what is going to be needed to stop that offensive firepower of Golden State. The Knicks don't have it.
The New Orleans Pelicans had Golden State on the ropes. They just weren't quite able to close the deal. Shayna, now that they get the Pacers at home, how can they get the points and why?
I think the Pelicans are probably going to win this game, maybe by a small margin, but a win nonetheless. And that's because they have a good defensive efficiency rate lately. And if they can keep the Pacers lock down on defense and produce a little bit on offense, they'll be able to take this win, mostly because the Pacers are on their second straight back-to-back, and they played awful against Miami last night. So they're kind of in a slump, while the Pelicans kept it really close against Golden State, like you said. So they should be going into tonight on a good momentum and good spirits and a little bit more rested than the Pacers. So if, like I said, if they can keep them off the board, that they can keep Paul George at a low number, they'll be able to win this game, and I'm going to take them tonight.
The Portland Trail Blazers look to be revived with Damian Lillard playing some good ball. Can they get the win over the Nuggets in Denver? Let me know what you think, Tracy.
Well, there are a couple of factors in Denver. You have the altitude and you have a great fan support. But when you look at both teams playing the game, Portland should get this one, especially the way Lillard is playing right now. I give the nod to Portland coming into Denver and getting the win.
San Antonio heads to Phoenix to take on the Suns. The Spurs are sitting second behind Golden State. Johnny, can you see the Suns being a problem for the Spurs?
Absolutely not. Although the Suns have been playing a bit better and have decent scoring ability, they only average 18 assists. And unfortunately, just don't match up against the Spurs, one of the most consistent teams in the NBA right now. So much size, Kawhi Leonard, LaMarcus Aldridge, Patty Mills, and all those vets on that team. To be honest, most people don't stand a chance on most nights. So no, Suns will not get the upset.
I may be partial because I live here in Las Vegas, but you know this is my favorite segment here on the show. We get with our resident pro, Johnny Robb, as Johnny tries to make us some money from the world of NBA basketball from the betting angle of things. Johnny's got all types of different things he looks at, including totals. He'll look at money lines, he'll look at those sides, and he'll give you his best bet. Let's go now. It's time for Johnny to take over. Here's Johnny. All right, Johnny Kid, let's get it started with a total tonight, over under. Lowest I see, Milwaukee at home against Chicago, 209. Highest I see, of course, Golden State at home at the Oracle against the Knicks at 224. What does Johnny Robb have for the high-low as far as over-under total tonight, Thursday, December 15th?
Well, Ken, first off, congrats on picking the right side of the spread yesterday with Thunder at Utah. But for the over-under today, I'm going to choose Knicks at Golden State, 224. I'm going to say over. Just pure gut on this one, but I'm going to say over.
All right, Johnny Robb, money line time, man. Come on, blow my mind. Take a shot at my Knicks. Plus 1,100, Johnny boy, up at the Oracle against Golden State. It can't lose, can it? I know, far-fetched. What do you have on your radar for the money line tonight, Johnny Kid?
Well, as much as I'd like to put that money down and see the Knicks win, I just can't take that bet. But the one I will take is 100 down on Trailblazers at Nuggets. So it's plus 110, so 100 wins you 110. We've got some injuries on the Nuggets side, and I always put my money on the Trailblazers. Anytime I don't, I regret it. So they've been consistent. We know they're a threat. Damian Lillard is a great commander. I'm going Trailblazers, money line, easy money.
All right, Johnny Kid, time to make some money, man. I need some cash, buddy. Need a little dinero in the pocket. Got a dime, got $1,000, baby. If I have one game, and I'm going to get the information from you, pal, what game does Johnny Robb have me on tonight for me to make some money? Double it up, baby. Give it to me, Johnny boy.
You got it, Ken. One bet and one bet only really sticks out here, and that's the Bulls at Milwaukee, plus 1 to cover. We've got the Greek Freak with an iffy ankle. If he plays, he won't be 100%. I have faith in Jimmy Butler and Dwayne Wade, so I got to go with the Bulls on this one, Ken.
There's been some major shakeups as far as the leaderboard, as far as fantasy basketball inside the NBA. Of course, Chris Paul elevating himself now into the top 10. And what about Isaiah Thomas? He's on the shelf, so he falls out. Paul George, he's back in action. He's having some great production, so he too has elevated into the top 10. And then, of course, Karl Anthony Towns, the youngster from Minnesota, he has dropped out. So lots going on. Let's take a look now and see what our panel has to say as far as those fantasy numbers. Let's go to our Quick Shots team.
Okay, Jay. Kristaps Porzingis. He moved from number 29 to number 27. Should he be on your roster after a monster performance against the Lakers this past Sunday?
Well, Kristaps Porzingis did project to be a high fantasy pick this offseason based on the veracity of a strong rookie campaign a year ago. He projected to be probably a top 4-round pick in category-based and not much further beyond that in head-to-head formats. And he's done absolutely nothing to hurt those projections moving forward with a very strong second year. He's working on about 21 points per game right now, almost 8 rebounds, and he'll even get you nearly 2 blocks. He's athletic, he's versatile, he could post you up, he could step out, and he could hit the 3. Porzingis seems to be getting better and better at just 21 years of age. He should definitely be on your roster, and he should definitely be in your starting lineup if he isn't already. All right, Chuck, I have one for you. Hawks power forward Paul Millsap has been a fantasy favorite for much of his career. Is the Nuggets big man Nikola Jokic, at just 21 years of age, on a similar path? What are your thoughts?
Well, Jay, not only is he on a similar path, but I believe his path and his future will be much higher and brighter, and it's not just because he's taller than Paul Millsap's. I think this guy at only 21 is absolutely phenomenal. Right now, he's averaging 11, 8, and 3. Okay, that's points, rebounds, assists off the bench. No one else in the entire NBA has those numbers off the bench. This guy should be starting right now for the Denver Nuggets, and I think Coach Malone is going to look to get him more into the lineup. But this is what I love. He's shooting almost 60% from the field. How can you not love a guy like that? With his offensive and defensive skill set, his future is bright. By the time he's 25, he could potentially be a top 10 player in the NBA. Pick him up.
Thanks for joining us. Another show in the books. If you agree or disagree with anything on the show, please let us know, as it's your time now to make those comments. Also, if you have any questions for our panel, things that you'd like to discuss or have them discuss, send that in as well. We'll be sure to try and get it on tomorrow night's show. Also, wanted to thank our cast. If you haven't been familiarized with them, you'll get to know them soon. Our expert analyst, Tracy Murray, former 12-year NBA veteran, former coach in the NBA, Dave Miller. Our panel, our starting 5, Johnny Robb, our resident pro handicapper, Yannick Kofi, known as King Thurs, Jay Skapanek, Chuck Walton, and Shayna Calandro. I'm Ken Thompson. I've enjoyed helping out tonight. Always love you. We'll talk to you tomorrow night on kwickieTV, NBA Today, Quick Shots.